Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Whether we like it or not, however much we want to wish it away, but a reality is a reality. And the reality is that coronavirus now dominates our news cycles completely as it takes all our mind space. You talk about foreign policy, strategic affairs, it's about coronavirus. Why did Biden take so long reaching out to India? What happened between Biden and Narendra Modi? You want to talk about cricket, about IPL? Should IPL carry on while there is a pandemic on or not? So sport, foreign affairs, economy, everything is dominated, unfortunately, by coronavirus. And equally unfortunately, we can't get rid of it, not in a hurry. So the reason we are talking about today is that we have three things to talk about, three different aspects. One, we know that unlike the first wave, the second wave is much nastier than the first wave, we know, because these variants, obviously, one, are more infectious, and second, we haven't gone into a full lockdown, and for the past several months, we've been very indisciplined as a people as well, besides the fact that our government has been very, very complacent. Nevertheless, this wave is much nastier than the first wave, but unlike the first wave, now we have a weapon. That weapon is the vaccine. So the question that keeps coming up all the time is, does this weapon work? Does it kill the virus? That means, does it kill the infection? Or does it just maim it so infection comes back 3 weeks later? Is it worthwhile to have the vaccine or not? Also, how will India vaccinate such a vast population? Because we know that from May 1, which is just a couple of days from now, the big vaccination drive is going to begin. That will reach out to all of India's population above 18 years of age. That is somewhere between 100 to 101 crore people. It's a lot of people. That's one. The second thing that's come out and that we need to look at very carefully is some new data on how does this virus spread? How do people get infected? So in the past, it was all about the mask. It was about staying 2 yards, 2 gaz ki duri, or 6 feet away from the other person. And it was generally believed that unless you are in close proximity of another person who's infectious, infection will not reach you. Increasingly now, scientific evidence tells us that these minute particles, it is still particle transmitted, droplet transmitted, but droplets can be so tiny, they can hang in the air for a long time. Now, they can hang in the air doesn't mean you are walking in the street and somebody is walking on the street on the other side and you have to protect yourself. Not that. It's always good to have a mask on. But if you are indoors with other people and one of them is infectious, that one person can then emit viruses which can float in the air, and others sitting in that room can also get infected. That also depends on how long they've been sitting there and how many people are there in the room, which means how much space one person has per person, 80 square feet, 100 square feet, 200 square feet, like that. So there is a study on that we'll talk about, because this changes quite radically our view on how to deal with this disease or how to prevent infection so far. In fact, just yesterday, Dr. V.K. Paul, who heads the COVID task force, member of Niti Aayog, an eminent doctor at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, he's among India's top neonatologists. He said that you should wear masks even indoors. Now, that led to a little bit of controversy. It doesn't mean that if you're sitting at home reading a book by yourself, you need to wear a mask. Or if you're sitting with your spouse, partner, flatmate, children, those people who are always with you in the house, who are not going out, it doesn't apply then. So it's not as if it's coming in your general air. It can spread in indoor air. So there is a study that tells us, that gives us evidence of this, but also gives you suggestions on how to counter it. And the third is just a good news story in this massive gloom. Good news, or I would say better news, or less worse news. And that has come from the state which initially in this wave was the worst affected to begin with. And you know what happened? Kerala was badly affected, Punjab was badly affected, particularly for mortalities. And Maharashtra was the one big state which was really badly affected. And Maharashtra was driving all of India's figures. In fact, for a long time in this wave, more than half of all of India's numbers, bad numbers, were coming from Maharashtra. That state, including the two biggest cities there, that is Mumbai and Pune, are not now showing a tapering. In fact, a tapering and also a decline. So fingers crossed, we know that they've had a partial lockdown and a full lockdown. But it looks like something has worked and all this bad data is now becoming lighter, in the sense it's not so heavy in Maharashtra as they say it is at this point in Delhi. Delhi and Mumbai this time at this point are cities in contrast. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So first of all, the question of do vaccines work? So we've shared with you data before and we've shown you how countries which have vaccinated a lot of their people, Israel, UK, US, they've all seen a heavy decline in their case rates and also their death rates. UK has been among the bigger countries, UK has been the most successful. Israel, of course, is a small country of 1 crore of people, about as small as Sweden in population, with very contrasting results of their COVID management plans. But Israel now has vaccinated almost its entire adult population, so they are out of COVID at this point. But what happens when you vaccinate a large enough population? What kind of evidence do you see of what is called as breakthrough infections? Breakthroughs in life are not always good things. Usually we think breakthrough is a good thing. If you want a job, it's a breakthrough, right? I got a job, it's a breakthrough. You pass an exam, a competitive exam, it's a breakthrough. You get into IIT or wherever you were trying to get. Or if you are bowling against an adversary, you get a wicket, that's a breakthrough. Breakthrough is usually a good thing. Breakthrough, this analysis, is a bad thing. So breakthrough means when the virus breaks through the protection that the vaccine is giving us, then that's called a breakthrough infection. So US now, which has now vaccinated a very large population already, they've come up with these results and they started vaccinating on December 16, not later. So there is enough time now passed, so there is data that is available for a certain credible period for a credible number of people. So this is the data that the American Center of Disease Control has put out after 8.7 crore people. That is 87 million people have been vaccinated. This data tells you that of the 8.7 crore people vaccinated, I will tell you this data in many different ways, because some people like percentages, some people like absolutes, some people are impressed by low numbers, some are impressed by high numbers. So let me just tell you, out of the 8.7 crore vaccinated, only 77 have died of COVID. Now you might say 77 people, that is half my street. I hope not. Right? But this is 77 out of 8 crore people. So for ease of understanding, it is like you had the entire adult population of Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Pune, Hyderabad, Bangalore, pick any other 10 cities in India. If you add all their adult population, that will come to about 8.7 crores. If out of all of them, only 77 had died, would you take notice of it? I'm not quite sure, and that too over a period of many months. So that is how effective the vaccines have been. Now let me cut and dice this data in different ways. So of the people who were vaccinated, only 0.005% got symptomatic infections. What is 0.005%? I know mental math has always been my challenge, and that's a challenge for most people, particularly the other side of the decimal. And more zeros you put in, more complicated it gets. So it means that 50 people out of a million, 50 in 10 lakhs have got infected after getting vaccinations. 50 in 10 lakhs is very few people, but you still say, oh, 50, because you have to visualize 50 and visualize 10 lakhs. So let me make it simpler. For one person to be infected after vaccinations, it is 2,000 vaccines. So of the 2,000 people vaccinated, only one has shown only one has shown symptomatic infection. That is very good odds, isn't it? Then, if you look at people who've been hospitalized, after getting vaccinated is 0.0003%. Remember, earlier was 0.005%, now it's 0.0003%. So, 3 zeros after the decimal, right? So that means it is even less. 0.0003% comes to 3 in 10 lakhs, 3 per million. That is excellent odds. How much better can it get? Okay, you would like it to be perfect, and nobody wants to be one of the three among that million. But these are very good odds. If 50 of us in a million get infected, and only 3 will be sick seriously enough to be hospitalized, these are very good odds. We don't want to be in hospital, we don't want to be among those 3, but these are very good odds. And then if you carry on and look at fatalities, add one more zero. So it's 0.00005%. That means 0.9 in a million or 9 in a crore. That's how we told you that of the 8.7 crores vaccinated, 77 have died. These are excellent records. Now you might say, oh, these are the American vaccines, Pfizer and Moderna. But let me tell you, data from other countries, particularly UK, which has trusted the AstraZeneca vaccine. Also, countries which have trusted, say, the Chinese vaccine, like which we have the other Indian vaccine, which is the Covaxin. Because these vaccines use the old-fashioned, tried and tested method of a dead, attenuated virus. All these have shown that vaccines are reducing serious sickness by more than 95%. So these are very good odds. So looking at this data, it's a very good idea to get vaccinated. Vaccinations are opening in a couple of days. I would suggest you register as soon as they open. And so because the queue will come up, and over next month, it's likely that India will not have enough vaccines because there will be a lot of demand. So the earlier you get it, the better it is. You will be saving yourselves, your friends, your family, all those who matter to you. Plus, you will also be performing a national contribution. Now, this question about indoor and outdoor transmission and aerosol transmission, is it there in the air? Should you wear a mask at home? That is a paper that just got published in PNAS. PNAS is the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, very prestigious journal. And this publication is by two scientists, Martin Bazan and John Bush. Usually these publications have 10, 12 football team bylines, so I don't read all those out to you, but because this is only two, Martin Bazan and John Bush, I am happy to mention these. Now what they've done is, they've experimented with an indoor environment. So they've taken an American classroom, they've taken also a nursing center to see where people are there, and it's likely that some people who are infected are there, and also people are talking and people are there for a long time. Then they have drawn a relation between the number of people present in any space, number of time they've been there, whether they are masked, they are not masked, what is the air circulation in the room. I'm sharing the whole paper with you. You have to be very good at modern math to understand it, modern math and statistics. I'm not, so I can only tell you the broad conclusions. The broad conclusions are that 1, the number of people and the time they spend in a room matters. 2, that when somebody is infectious in a room, the virus can escape in micro droplets and they can hang in the air for quite some time. So even somebody at the other end of the room can get infected. So indoors, the 6-foot rule does not save you. Or indoors, the 2 gaz ki duri rule does not save you. It doesn't hurt to be far away, to be as distant as possible, but it is not as much of a guarantee as it is if you were outside. So because indoors, these aerosols are lingering. So that is the first point, that do more than just your distancing. The second thing they say is that areas or rooms that have higher exchange rates, Higher exchange rates means more people talking, more people singing, more people telling jokes, more people like me at the top of my voice right now, because to record I have to speak loudly, more people like me at the top of their voice speaking for a long time. The more they do like this and the more people are there, the more you will have the spread of the virus if if one of them is infected. The second thing is, if you have, so this happens when you have more vigorous respiratory activity, or if somebody is coughing, somebody is sneezing. This is talking, singing, shouting, screaming, crying. This causes more vigorous respiratory activity and more infection in the air. On the other hand, if you have a nicely ventilated room, then this comes down, because then air exchange comes in. So the bad air, it's an old logic. I will tell you a story. When I used to work for India Today a long time back, Raghu Rai, the famous and one and only Raghu Rai, used to be our photo editor. And every time a story was done where pictures were involved, and we gave a lot of importance to pictures, but Raghu would always fight for his pictures by telling us what? He would say in his own manner, that was his speech number one. He used to have about 3 fixed speeches. Speech number one was, अरे यार तुम लोग ये जो वर्ड्स लिखते हो ना, ये ईंटें हैं ईंटें, और जो मैं फोटो लाता हूँ वो खिड़की है, वो रोशनदान है. What it means is, the words you write are like bricks in the wall, right? But the pictures I bring are like windows and ventilators. So you need windows and ventilators and keep them open so that there is air exchange. That improves your odds of escaping infection greatly. Second, air filtration is a very good idea if you can afford it. If you have to be in a closed environment, then use air filtration. Any of your air purifiers would do. Now most air purifiers come with HEPA filters, which filter out most of the viruses also. So that helps. And then they say that on top of it, if you also use masks, at least those who are not talking can use masks, or even if the person who's talking or sneezing or coughing is using a mask, obviously somebody is singing, he or she can't use a mask, but the use of the mask reduces your chances of getting infected dramatically. So they have now come, it's a complex calculation, they've estimated an upper limit of exposure in terms of time, proximity, amount of virus in the air that a human being can tolerate, but that is all complicated. I don't think we need to go there, and we don't need to calculate that. What we have to remember is ventilation, distance, air purification, and masks. If you do all that, then you can be much safer. And finally, what kind of a challenge will it be as India now goes out to vaccinate all its population above 18 years of age? So I share with you a paper on the LEAP blog by Ajay Shah, economist Ajay Shah, and Renuka Shane, both very well-known researchers. They have looked at India's population. This is very broad data, but it is very instructive. So right now the data we have of population is the 2011 census. So they've extrapolated this from the 2011 census using the CMIE Consumer Pyramid Household Survey. CMIE is Center for Monitoring of Indian Economy. It's a very credible center. So they use that to now estimate, with little margin of error which they've listed. I'm not reading out that, but that is for statisticians, that people in India between the age group of 0 to 17 today, about 34.5 crores. I'm rounding off a little bit. In the age group of 18 to 44, which now comes into the eligibility criteria for vaccination, between 18 to 44 is 62.2 crores. People between 45 and 59 are 32.1 crores. Remember, they had become eligible only a month back, all of them. And then people who are 60 plus are 12.5 crores, because we are a very young country, you can see that. Now what happens is, until 26th of April they analyze, that is until yesterday as I record this, until 26th of April, India had administered 14.2 crore vaccination shots. Of this, about 12 crore people, precisely 11.96 crore, let's say 12 crore people had got only one shot until now. Whereas 2.25 crore people, Savado crore people, or 22.5 million people had got two doses. What that means is that 14.2 million people or 14.2 crore people in India also includes 1.12 crore of below 45 age people who had got qualified to be vaccinated because they were in the frontline workers, medical workers category. For example, all your armed forces. I mean, if you take out the generals, I think if you just come below the level of a full colonel, everybody would be below 45. So they all got vaccinated. So about 1 crore and 12 lakhs are below 45 age group. What that means is that of the people of India above 45 years of age, only 5% as yet have got two doses. But 27% have got one dose, that is above 45. So what is the challenge now? And they calculate that so far, Government of India has been averaging 2.3 million doses a day. If that pace is maintained, then with that pace, so far, they are able to vaccinate 5.1 per day of every 1,000 eligible people. But as the eligible people's number goes up, then what happens? As the eligible people's number goes up from 44.6 crore, which is today, to 100.06 crores, that is on May 1, then eligible population becomes 100.6 crores, that's more than doubled. Again, if you take out the ones who've been vaccinated, you are still left with 92 crore people to be vaccinated. So the number of people to be vaccinated will exactly double from what it is now. So this gives you this idea of the dimensions and the size of the challenge. And that's why everybody has to help. And that's why all sectors needed to get involved, and that's why we support the idea, I support the idea of the private sector being involved. And in fact, corporates now can buy vaccines and vaccinate their staff. That is one thing. Employers can do it. We'll do it for our staff. When they get vaccinated, we'll reimburse them for vaccinations. We are very small. But this also means that everybody will contribute. And the sooner we can vaccinate people, the better it will be, because as I said in the very beginning, now we have a weapon. Two, we know that the weapon works. If the weapon works and if we have it, what we need is more bullets. That the two Indian companies, two marvelous companies, Serum Institute and Bharat Biotech, they are doing it. You will also see some of these AstraZeneca vaccines, surplus ones coming from America on loan. So that might give us an initial fillip, and we expect by June our production to go up. So as the vaccines are available, please make sure if you haven't got one in your arm, get it as soon as possible. And if you've got one, get your second one on the day it is due. And before I go away, I will also tell you what happens when you do good things. When you do good things, look at this series of graphics by Ramandeep Kaur, my colleague, that will run on my screen today. These tell you of all the Indian states, major states, one, which was the biggest cause for concern, Maharashtra. That, touchwood, so far so good, seems to be turning the corner. You see the total number of cases, you see the fatality rate, you see the test positivity rate, you also see the numbers for the two key cities, Mumbai and Pune. So it's happened because of lockdown, harsh measures have been taken, but it's working. And it's a good thing that Maharashtra, which now seems to be quite awakened, yesterday carried out 5 lakh vaccinations for a state. That's very good. And I do hope more states will get into this competitive mindset. Now, you want to know more about what's happening in Maharashtra? Read the story that Mansi Phadke, our correspondent in Mumbai, wrote. I will share that with you. And also the data-based story, the daily story that we do, that is our science correspondent Mohana Basu, and graphics by Ramandeep Kaur.